All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys, Michal Krizo, 5 days out from the 2022 Mr. Olympia, looking incredibly impressive. Much more impressive than I thought he was going to look, and much more impressive than I think he looked at either of his most recent previous two preps for the Olympia Amateur and the Prague Pro. I think he looks insane here. He looks a lot fuller, a lot more vascular, a lot leaner, a lot harder, everything. Michal Krizo is bringing the freak factor to the Olympia, and this is the freak factor that we talked about so many other times in the past with Michal Krizo when he was still competing in the IFBB Elite Pro. I truly do feel that he's been saving it for the Olympia. He didn't want to unveil his best package until the big show. I think he knew he was going to get there. He did exactly what he said he was going to do. Turned pro, won a pro show, immediately got to the Olympia stage, and I think this is all going according to his plans. Now, I'm still very hesitant to make a prediction that Michal Krizo would crack the top 6 or be in the first call-out. I still like my prediction of Krizo in 9th. I think any top 10 spot for Krizo would be fantastic for him at his first Olympia ever, especially as quickly as he got there. Turning pro, pro show, Olympia within, what, 3 months of each other. That would be tremendous for him to even be top 10, which I do think he will. I think 9th is a really solid prediction for him. That being said, I do think there's a possibility he could do better. I do think there's a possibility he could crack the top 6. I really do. Now, how likely it would be for him to crack the top 6, I think, is a different question entirely, but I do think there's a possibility. So everybody that's counting Michal Krizo out, I think he's going to prove a lot of people wrong. I really do think that people are, I think he's going to make believers out of people. I think people don't quite believe the hype yet. And I still think there's a little bit to be desired with his posing. I do think that's going to be an issue if his posing is as bad as it was in Prague. I really think he needs to work on that. It was very shaky, very labored. He seemed very exhausted by the time the posing was done. I think that's something he needs to bring up as his stamina during these posing rounds, especially at the Olympia. And to his credit, Steve Weinberger he was the head judge of the Prague Pro, so maybe in a sense, Krizo got a little bit of a preview of what the Olympia would be like, because Steve obviously is going to be the head judge at the Olympia as well. So maybe that was like a nice little practice round for him for the Olympia. I am curious to know what you guys think of Michal Krizo in the comments down below, how he's looking at 5 days out. Now, next up in the news, a recent physique update from Blessing Awodibu, just days out from the Olympia as well. And he says, "F it, I'm going classic. C-bum, where you at, my guy?" First, he did tag, I thought he tagged Schwarzenegger first. Actually, yeah, and this one he has Schwarzenegger tagged. The one on my phone, he had originally tagged Seabum. Now it says Schwarzenegger. This is 4 days out for Blessing. Some back shots. And what we already know about Blessing is he's got a very impressive back. Very impressive width to his back and a lot of density to his back. Crazy wide shoulders. It gives him a really good stage presence. He's a little bit of a taller guy. Not one of the tallest, but he is taller than most. I think he's probably 5'10", 5'11", so a couple inches taller than the average bodybuilder. And I am curious to see where he ends up placing, but I still feel like the legs are a little bit undersized, especially in some of these poses, the way that he has his legs angled, you can see. Mostly the hamstrings for me. I think he needs to bring up that thickness in the side poses. His quads look all right, but I think when you look at him straight on and then straight on from the front and the back, that's where you can see, because he does have this crazy wide back. He does have these crazy wide shoulders. He has a pretty well-developed and pretty massive upper body, and I just don't think the legs are quite balanced where they need to be. They were good enough to win 2 shows. Give him that. His conditioning was really good. He did improve them, but on the Olympia level, I don't know if it's going to be enough. I think he needs to bring up the legs a little bit more still. So I would still stick with my prediction for Blessing just outside the top 10. Now, next up in the news, we did get another physique update from Samson Dauda, just kind of a crab, most muscular update here, a brief video, and this was posted by both him and Milo Sarshev. And Samson is another guy that I feel like is a true dark horse in this lineup. He could place, I think, really anywhere. Because on paper, he has the size. On paper, in the offseason at least, he was the second heaviest bodybuilder in this lineup. And also on paper, well, not just on paper, but in real life, he's got a great structure. No bubble gut. He's got a nice V-taper. He's a pretty aesthetic bodybuilder. So when you've got that much size, a really good structure, conditioning is the main thing we're going to be looking at. So depending on his conditioning, which in the updates does look good, that's going to determine his placing here. Now, I have no idea what he's actually going to weigh on stage. I don't know how close to 330 he actually is going to be. Obviously, that was an off-season weight, and he could be as much as 30, 40, even 50 pounds lighter than that. He could be in the 280s on stage. And again, the scale doesn't necessarily matter a whole lot, but I do really like Samson's physique. I think he's got a very nice flow, like I said. And for the amount of size that he has, I am impressed with him being able to maintain that same shape. But the conditioning is still the question mark for me, because we've seen good conditioning from him before at the Arnold Classic, but we haven't seen great. I don't think we've yet seen Olympia level, top 10 level conditioning from Samson. Could this be the year? Could this be the time? Yes, absolutely. But I still want to wait till we see him on stage to make another prediction for Samson. In my opinion, he really could land anywhere in this line. I wouldn't be surprised if he was top 6. I wouldn't be surprised if he was top 10. But then I also wouldn't be surprised if he was like towards the bottom of the placings. I think depending on his conditioning, you could really see him anywhere. Now, next up in the news, we got another update from Keone Pearson, just 5 days out from the 212 Mr. Olympia. We haven't been talking as much about 212. His abs look pretty insane. Keone is a guy that I really want to see bring the conditioning this year. He's got the shape, he's got the size. We know he's competitive in 212, but his conditioning last year at the Olympia was just simply not good enough. And what we want to see this year is vastly improved conditioning. He was 14th last year. A big reason for that was his conditioning. He attributed that conditioning to having some kind of stomach virus, like right before the show. His abs look really good. He looks really sharp here, and that's what I want to see. We've seen feathering in the legs, the cross striations in his quads, really deep separation when he showed his leg updates before. Now we're seeing the midsection looks really deep and defined. All signs right now point to seeing a really good version of Keone. So again, we haven't talked as much about 212 because Classic and bodybuilding have such deep lineups and they're such exciting lineups. But 212 I still feel like is going to be a really exciting division. The fact that the title's kind of wide open this year without Derek Lunsford. You've got Sean Clarita, a former 212 Olympia champ. You've got Kamal El Gargni, a former 212 Olympia champ. Then there's guys like Keone that I think have every attribute of a future 212 Olympia champ gunning for that title. I think it's going to be an exciting one, and I think 212 is not going to disappoint. I think people will be surprised at probably the result of 212 and how competitive 212 is. But let me know in the comments below where you think Keone will place at this year's Olympia. Now, the final story that I've got for you guys today, another update from Rafael Brandao, some side profile shots where you can see his conditioning from the side. You can see all kinds of striations in his shoulders. You can see his serratus, his intercostal area looking really shredded. I think, like I said, I think Rafael Brandao, another guy that could really surprise a lot of people. We're going to see in terms of size how he stacks up with some of these guys, because we got some mass monster freaks in this year's Olympia lineup, and I'm curious to see how Rafael stacks up from a size standpoint. We know, like I said, he's a more aesthetic men's open guy, and I'm pretty confident that his conditioning is going to be good, but will he get outsized here is the main question for me. And I am curious to see how true Brandon Curry's prediction rings, because Brandon Curry had him in 5th in Brandon's predictions, which I think is high praise from a former Mr. Olympia champ. And we just saw another update from Rafael where his quads looked really good. They looked a lot bigger to me, like dramatically improved, and some of the updates that he posted with Flex Lewis. So like Samson Dauda, I feel like Rafael has a shot at being anywhere, even though I didn't have him even in my top 10. These are guys that I'm still going to be watching very closely the day of the show. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about all the stories we discussed in this video. And that is going to wrap it up for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, click that bell notification so you don't miss a minute of the Olympia coverage. And as always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power, my Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power, my secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.